Three Legs podcast. If you've ever seen the show, it's really entertaining and fun, and that's what you take away from it. But the truth is, it's actually mission driven, okay? When Tony lost his leg, we all rallied around him, and we were able to actually, last year we went on a United States tour and donated more than $40,000 in adaptive equipment to amputees in need, and that's all off the back of Tony's personality and energy. Zac and Tony have the opportunity today to interview Tyler Lydon. I don't know if everyone in the room knows Tyler Lydon. Tyler Lydon started off at Syracuse playing basketball, and his freshman year took the team to the Final Four. An absolute animal, and was drafted in the first round of the NBA. Do you know how many people were drafted in the first round of the NBA? Let's make some noise one time for Two Dudes, Three Legs and Tyler Lydon.
All right, real quick before we start, I just want to shout out a beautiful woman in the audience who was recently diagnosed with cancer and already beat it. My mother, Christine Capoletti. Stand up, Ma. Stand up. You can't kill Capolettis. Stand up, Ma. She is single, but stay away or you're going to have a big issue. Shut up.
Already got the crowd going, my guy Tony. All right, so for those of you who do not know, Tyler Lydon played locally here in Dutchess County at Pine Plains High School. He then went on to go play for Syracuse. Then he got drafted first round to the Utah Jazz, ended up playing for the Denver Nuggets, and now he runs LMC Athletics here in Dutchess County, where he coaches young kids all the way up to NBA athletes. So let's start off with the basics. Tyler, how did you get into basketball?
So my mom she actually played at Dutchess Community College, super high level. She won a national championship there. Yeah. And she had a bunch of D1 offers when she was playing and turned them down. She was with my father at the time. And at that point, it was like there was no WNBA, so she never really saw a future in basketball. And so she went to Dutchess Community College, and she pretty much taught me and my brothers everything that we know at this point.
So your mom was the athlete? Your mom was the athlete, not the dad?
Mom was the athlete, yeah. My dad, he can go. He's
List
solid,
off the heights of your family real quick. Give me the heights of all your family members.
Mom's 6'2", dad's 6'6", I'm 6'9", 6'10", depending on the day. My brother Zach, who's in the stands, crowd, he's about 6'8", 6'9".
It's wild.
Younger brother below me, 6'4", and then the youngest brother is like 6'8".
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Imagine that grocery bill. Imagine that.
So you got into basketball when you were young. How old were you when you got into basketball? What was your first time really playing?
Since I can remember. I mean, I've been playing my entire life.
Did you always believe, or at least have a thought that you could make it to the NBA? Was that always a possibility for you?
I mean, it was always a dream, but, you know, coming from a small town in upstate New York, it's not always like something I actually believed in. For me, it was always there. I didn't realize it was a possibility until I was probably in my freshman year at Syracuse, and then rumors started to float around. And but that was like the first time where I was like, this could actually happen.
So all the way up to college, you didn't believe it?
Yeah, no, I always had a little bit of self-doubt, and I think that was one of my biggest struggles as a player. And it was just always believing in myself. I never really had like that 100% confidence. To me, I always thought that there was an arrogance about people that had that, because that's all I had ever been around. So I always had a little bit of self-doubt, and I think that carried me into college. And then once I was there, I was like, okay, I can actually play this game at the next level, I think.
Did you use that self-doubt to drive you to practice more and become better and better?
For sure. I mean, every day when I would wake up, there was always a little voice in my head that said I wasn't good enough. You know, so when I was at prep school and working out 5 or 7 hours a day, it was always there just telling me to keep going, and I just used that momentum into college and helped me out, obviously.
It's funny how that little insecurity always pushes people to work harder. We've interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs, and I seem to find this pattern where they all have this little insecurity, and it just gets them to continue working harder and harder and honing their skill. So if you're insecure, I don't think it's such a bad thing. might be a good takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's got it, no matter what field they're in. Those tend to be the people, at least that I've experienced and been around, that have always been the most successful in whatever they do, whether it's basketball or business or anything.
Yeah. Thought it was you, pup. All right. When you did get drafted into the NBA, did you feel like there was more pressure or less pressure on you? Because when you were at Syracuse, you had a really good first year. Your second year, you said it on our podcast a couple weeks ago that you kind of played less than what you thought you could. And then when you finally have that, I made it to the NBA, you're putting in hours and hours and hours for years to finally make it to that goal, that thing. When you made it to the NBA, did you have more of a, I made it and I could chill out, or more of a, I made it, now I got to get to the next level and I got to work even harder to compete?
You're always fighting for the next contract. So like even the veterans that have been in the NBA for 12, 15 years, they'll be the first ones to tell you like their next goal once they signed a major deal worth $100 million was, all right, that's been signed, cool, but I got to get to the next one. And it's always figuring out how to get there from point A to point B. So when I was drafted, obviously it's a dream come true, something that very few people have done. It was also just about how do I get to the next one. And it's weird because I always played the game because I loved it. And at that point, that was probably the first time that I saw it more or less as like a business and a way to provide for my family and all that stuff.
It's crazy because you play it for 15, 20 years at some point, and then you get into the NBA and it goes from just like, okay, let's play. Who is the guy? I forget who the athlete was, but he said, I play basketball for fun. I get paid to deal with the media, because he's like the business side and all the other stuff. You know who said that?
I forget.
Okay.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's like once you get to the NBA, it's no longer just basketball anymore. It's everything else you have to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the toughest things that most people don't understand is that it's truly a giant business. It's an entertainment business, right?
When we sat down for our interview, you explained to us that was a huge turnoff to you and was a large reason that the NBA is no longer a part of your life.
I never played because of anything else. The money, obviously, side little benefactor of it all.
So other than our height, we have a few other things in common. I grew up with a lot of brothers, and I spent a lot of my life getting my ass kicked, and it shaped me into who I am today in a lot of ways. And you have a lot of brothers. So tell us about how the brotherhood that you grew up in shaped you to be who you are today, how it helped you in the NBA and now in your business.
He played a giant role in everything because he's 2 years older than me. I always wanted to push myself to beat him, so he would be outside whooping my ass on the court and one-on-one. And he was somebody that I always looked up to. So for myself, it was always, how do I beat him? It wasn't necessarily the person across from me in a game. I was more or less wanting to whoop his ass like he did mine. So that played a giant factor. And then I have two younger brothers, like I mentioned before. And so we would just be outside all the time playing 2-on-2. And everybody's super ultra competitive. And our parents, I think, instilled this in us at a young age that, we don't raise losers in this household. So go fucking win a game or something,
Yeah, when I grew up, my brothers were kicking my ass all the time. And they were all a lot bigger than me. And then I got into middle school and it was, I signed up for wrestling. And I was like, I get to wrestle people my size? And I was smacking kids around. I wish I stuck with it, but it didn't last very long. How did that help you evolve in business, though? Brotherhood.
It's everything. I think my brothers taught me that I have people to rely on in my life. And then when you go into the business side of things, you need people alongside of you that you can rely on and that can have your back no matter what, just like a brother does. So, we were raised super tight-knit family, especially all of us boys. Like, we're really, really close to this day. I don't have many friends, per se, outside of my brothers. And so in business, it kind of just translated right away. I just needed to find people that had my back just like my brothers do.
I just read a book called Choose Your Enemies Wisely.
PBD.
By PBD. And he talks about how throughout your life and athletes' lives, they change their enemies, and like it goes from, in high school, it's another high school player. In NBA, it's another NBA player.
I think for most people, sometimes they don't even realize at the end of the day, it's really you fighting yourself all the time. Are you going to get out of bed and make it happen today? Are you going to put in the extra effort, hone your skill to get better so that you can beat out the competition? Because if you're not in your own corner, you can't do anything. A great quote, right? It's a sports quote, and it's the trophy is earned in the hours no one is watching, right? We know how this applies to sports. Now, you have your own company, LMC. Can you tell us how a little bit about the behind the scenes and the hours you put in behind to make the business work?
Yeah, I mean,
LMC.
just like when you're putting in extra work off the court, business-wise, myself and Justin Cooper, who's here with me, we run LMC Athletics at this current point. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, whether it's day-to-day shit like setting up camps, clinics, providing stuff for all the youth kids in the area, and a lot of computer work, which I'm really fucking bad at. Terrible with technology, but Jay Coop's got it down.
I run a 70-person sales team in solar, and a big thing that I look for when I'm hiring people is if they have a sports background. Because when you're in sports, you understand competitiveness, you understand practice, how much effort you put in practice compared to the game. You understand winning and losing, which not a lot of kids today understand what it's like to lose because we give out participation
Everybody
trophies.
gets a trophy.
But when I'm hiring somebody, I look for that because it's important. So how does your professional or athlete life, all the skills you learned in that, how does it help you in business? That mic's out. Just come here, sit next to us. Come sit next to us. Come here. Come here. Come sit down.
Don't sit on my lap. You'll break my only good leg.
You hold this.
Gigantic, bro.
There you go. Start talking to that.
You'd be like a baby in my arms.
Thank you.
Rocking back and forth.
Thank you for taking my manhood away.
Yeah.
Sit up here.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, playing a sport is huge, especially like, to me, the biggest thing is learning how to communicate, which a lot of younger kids now that we work with, they don't know how to do it. Like, these kids all have a phone in front of their face, whereas we grew up and we were talking face to face. You had an issue, you confronted somebody. So, I think that's a huge thing, communication, but just learning how to figure out a solution to any problem you have. On a basketball court, you might have, a fraction of a second to figure out how to get a defensive stop. And so I think from a business standpoint, that helps you right away. Like, how do you solve that next problem and get over the next hurdle? I think playing a sport is huge. And, not only from yourself, who's super successful, I've heard it from, billionaires in the world that's all they want to hire is people that played for sports or sports teams. Yeah.
You got to be able to handle a loss and rejection, especially in business. Business is so brutal. When you're playing a sport, you lose a game, you go home, you still have your family, your household is protected. When you lose in business, that shit is scary. You could fall quickly if you don't have.
How many people in here played sports? Raise your hand. Growing up, how many people in here played sports? Look at that. Almost everyone in the room. Turn into an audience.
How many people in here own a business? Wow, hell yeah. Let's go, Poughkeepsie.
That's big time.
How many people want to come sell solar? No. All right, come talk to me after.
I don't even got the mic. There you go. I got it back. So sports, competitiveness, they go hand in hand. That's a big thing that we always talk about in sales. When you're in LMC Athletics, you're training people that are 5 years old and dealing with their parents sometimes, and you're training NBA athletes. You have that large disparity of who you have to train. How do you deal with that, and how do you go about that?
It's pretty interesting, like you said. I mean, dealing with a 5-year-old's parents is the worst thing that you could possibly imagine. No offense, parents suck. Justin handles a lot of the NBA guys, so shout out to Justin. I really don't get a chance to go work with those guys. Not that I even want to, because they're all prima donnas after being through it. But he crushes it with all those guys. So it's interesting for sure. You got to handle each kid, each family differently. And I think, that's also goes back to sports, is like every teammate you got to be able to talk to differently. You can't, scream at one guy, but you might be able to scream at the next guy. So, figuring that out, I think it just makes all of those interactions a lot easier.
It's amazing how it all relates to business, because it's the same thing. I'm in management as well, and I manage an office here in Poughkeepsie, and it's the same thing. When you got a salesman who's messing up, you got to treat every single person a little differently and touch them the way that they need to be, touched. So
I feel you're the type of guy. Sorry.
You can go.
I thought you were done.
Hey, just come here. I'm not talking or anything. No big deal.
I feel like you're the type of guy to fight with somebody's parents. You ever got into a fight with a parent?
Not Not a physical altercation. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, you have disagreements for sure. I mean, parents are rightfully so overly protective of their kids, and they always think they have their best interests. But the best parents that we've worked with are the ones that are able to take the step back and just trust you with what you do as a professional and, you know, your workspace. So there's definitely been arguments, but all of it's been very positive. Like, I've never had a parent leave a gym and be frustrated and never come back. Some of them I wish never came back. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I mean, there's always going to be those arguments and stuff. But as long as it's with the right intentions and you have that child's best interest, I think that's all that matters.
So real quick, I just want to do I want you to do a little storytelling. So you ended up leaving the NBA, and I want to know what inspired you or sparked the inception of LMC.
I think it all just went back to my rookie year in the NBA. We all just sat down and were like, hey, how do we benefit our area as much as possible? Because, again, growing up in a small town, there wasn't a lot of opportunity to be on the basketball court. And when you did have to be on the court, you had to pay money, and there was all these different things. So we just said, what can we do at the lowest cost possible so that a kid can get in the gym and spend the most time in the gym and learn something valuable? So, you know, we were all fortunate, the three of us, my brother and Justin and myself, to be around like some of the highest level coaches in the entire world or country. And we just said, you know, we need to give the kids in the area the best opportunity to also be around those coaches. So for us, it stemmed from there, and we just used my first camp as that initial, I guess, concept, and got as many kids through the door as we possibly could. And we also, I mean, we had Bard College, you know Bard College, right? So yeah, so we had a bunch of, I don't even know how we got them, like free membership cards. So I like put on Facebook, like, any kid that wants to show up, just show up these hours and let's get in the gym and just have fun and go play. So we did that, but then the athletic director got a little upset and we weren't allowed to do that anymore. Business. But yeah, I mean, that was the ultimate goal, was how many lives can we impact through the game? And that's why we started it. It turned into like the personal side of training that we do now, but it always started with a camp.
What are your plans moving forward with LMC, and how do you plan to scale it?
Right now we only run my camp. We run a couple other like smaller ones, but I think the biggest way for us to scale is through larger camps and affecting more areas. So right now we're primarily Poughkeepsie in the Hudson Valley, but if we can get a little bit more up north, we've made a bunch of connections, so we might try to do stuff throughout the entire Northeast. But for us as a business, the only scalability to it is to run more events, because there's only one me, there's only one Justin, there's only so many hours of gym time in a day. So we got to take advantage of that and get the most kids through the door, and that's through events.
And also, just a side note, when I was growing up, I think I was like 15 or 16, Tyler, his brother Zac, and his partner Justin were my coach in AAU basketball. And whenever Tyler would show up, we're talking about Bard College, which we practiced there a few times. Whenever Tyler would show up, we were like 15, Tyler would just come and smoke us all and dunk on everyone, just treat us bad. So anyway, let's get into some fun questions I got for you, okay? We did this on the podcast live last week, and I want everyone, I'm going to ask after if he's right or wrong. I want you to give me your starting five, all-time starting five.
Ooh.
Steph at the 1. Kobe at the 2, MJ at the 3, Bron at the 4, and Shaq at the 5. If you disagree, you can leave.
Good or bad? Good or bad? We like that? We like that? All right, good. Good. Nah, nobody's beating that. All right. We got the next game. We got start, bench, cut. So who would you start? Who's going to be in your starting lineup? Who are you putting on the bench to come off? And who are you cutting? We'll go with the age-old question, MJ, Kobe, or LeBron?
Start, bench, cut. Start MJ, bench Bron, cut Kobe.
How do we feel about that? Jack, you got a hand on your face over there. You didn't like that one.
I need an answer from somebody out there why Kobe should be on the bench or starting. Who's got a better answer?
Who thinks Kobe should be on? Tell me why. Yeah. Kobe's the GOAT?
He tried to be MJ. He can't be the GOAT if he's trying to be somebody. That's fair. That's fair.
All right. So, Todd, I got one more for you. Hold on. We got start. We've been sharing the mic. You can share.
This one's better.
Yeah, this one I sound like I'm screaming. So you played power forward. You played power forward in college, and that was your position. So I'm going to give you start, bench, cut, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, and Dirk Nowitzki.
That's really tough.
Don't look at my cards.
Start.
I got answers.
Start Tim, bench Dirk, and cut Garnett, which is crazy. That's the toughest question, honestly, that I've been asked.
Damn. And KG?
Yeah, he's got to go.
Yeah.
Sorry. See ya.
I'd like to hang out with that guy. Get a beer with KG.
Yeah, he's a dog. He's insane.
All right,
He's
go ahead.
absolutely
Give that one back, Tony. I'll hand this to you. All right. Switch back around.
We'll do the so I think you gave us a short version of this, but we want to inspire people here today. So you've done a lot with your life. NBA player, that's incredible. You were a first-round draft pick. Only 4,300 people who ever lived were a draft pick. That's insane. At the end of the day, what is your message to everybody out there?
I guess it's just always believe in yourself. Like once I figured out that I knew I was good enough and I finally actually had that belief in myself, that's when I realized that it truly could happen. I could actually take my game to the next level. Up until that point, there was always something holding me back, and I didn't figure it out until I was actually in the NBA that I was actually good enough and felt like I could belong. So for me, it's always just believe in yourself, and whatever your purpose is, just tackle that and go 100% until you get there,
I'm going to do it. Mom, I'm joining the NBA.
There is a midget league, I think, out there somewhere.
Oh, whoa. I still couldn't play. I got one fucking leg, dude. I get smoked by the midgets.
All right, I'm gonna end it out here with, everyone you've heard here tonight. This event that was put on by Q29 and Vital Talk. It started off with Bryce saying you have to believe in yourself, and you just heard it here. That was not planned. That was purely just Tyler's real answer. Whether you are Tyler Lydon, you're starting to try and get into the NBA, and you just have to have that belief that you can make it happen. Whether you're Bryce Eckwall and you decide in a bar late at night to go walk up to Damon John and then go meet with the guy, and now he does all his videos and he's coming here tonight. Whether you're Ali Krieger, that I'm sure at some point didn't believe she was going to be in the NBA, in the soccer league. She ended up believing in herself, and that got her to where it is. So whether you're starting a business, whether you're trying to make a sports career, whatever it is, it all starts with the simple fact of believing in yourself. And until you have that, you can't do anything. So if you're here tonight and you take one thing away from it, it's crazy what happens when you believe in yourself. It's things you can't even imagine, like this event here tonight. So thank you, Q29. Thank you, Vital Talk. Thank you, Tyler Lydon.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up.